Hi, my name is Kevin, and I'm a Kabbalistic theorist. This video is about the Tree of Life, which is one of the main tenets of Kabbalah. Particularly, my theory takes it from what I believe to be an abstract understanding of what it is to a more practical, realistic understanding of what it is. So, my theory, in a way, what it does is instead of looking at Kabbalah as some sort of complexity, it's looking for the simplicity. Essentially, what I've done is, if you were to look at the Tree of Life as we know it, there are the typical 10 or 11, including Ein, or Ein Sof Ur, however you want to look at it. And what I've done is I actually figured out that you take both the Kabbalistic tree and the Kabbalistic tree. So if you have no understanding of this, basically the Kabbalah tree is the tree of life, and the Kabbalistic tree is the tree of death in the Torah and the Bible. And these trees are meant to be ways or pathways to higher levels of understanding of our reality. Now, the problem though is that the way it's titled, if you'd like, the way Kabbalah and Klippot is meant to be, is that they're basically titles. They're names of those Sephrio. Sephrio are the parts of the tree. So the Sephrio, each Sephrio is like a circle like this, and it's layered a certain way. It's kind of like a diamond-like shape, the tree. And the point of this is that each Sephrio has like a center in the body, somewhere in the body, which makes sense actually. But what's missing there is, what does this really do? What is it composed of? We don't have an understanding of the Kabbalistic tree of life or death in a way that is succinct with reality, one that coheres with an understanding of reality that's comprehensible. So what I'm getting at is, I took both the Kabbalistic tree and the Klippot tree, and I just figured out if you put the two together, which I'm not the first to do that, you really get the complete understanding of the tree. Now, a tree is nature. Nature is what we come out of. If you want to look at it from a biological perspective, organisms, single-celled organisms, or however you want to look at it, that's what we come out of. But that is really nature, if you want to look at it a certain way. We are nature beings. As per most Kabbalistic understandings, we come out of nature or God, and we then have free will and life to live within that construct. So you take both trees, actually, put them together, and then all you're missing is two Sephiros. One, because, in the Klippot tree, you don't have an Ein Sof Ur. You don't have this this part over the tree. See, now the tree is laid out a certain way, and then over that, there's supposed to be 3 extra layers. Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Ur, which is basically means nothingness, which is the void. Excuse me, I'm burping. The void. So the void is what we come out of. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into what that really means, but what I will say is that on the Klippot tree, you're missing that. You're missing that extra part, so to speak. Okay, and we also need to understand a tree comes out of something. Much like life, there's a seed. Much like when a male and female procreate, there's seed involved to make children. So that I don't want to get too much into that, but basically the seed is a part of the tree. It's what makes the tree. Now, what makes the seed is a different story. So this is kind of like as above, so below thing going on, if you've ever heard that before, where the tree is, the seed begins at the top of the tree, comes down, plants itself, depending on what climate and wherever the tree is. I don't want to get too much into trees either. But the point that I'm getting at is that the seed makes the tree. Okay, so in Hebrew, zera means seed. And that's basically what was missing. Other than that, was one thing that would be prominent throughout the entire tree. And that, to me, has to be the makings of the tree that are exterior. that aren't interior. So we often look at the tree, and what you want to understand here from a quantum perspective is that most of this is from a quantum perspective. It's invisible, it's unseen. However, what this last piece does is it brings it to the exterior world, the world we live in. So there's both this interior world and exterior world. The exterior world is where we live. This is where it manifests itself. The interior world exists in a way that has no dependence on the exterior world. However, the dependence is from the exterior world to the interior world. Now, without the exterior world, you also couldn't have an interior world. So it's not as though, I mean, there's no dependence from that perspective, but really there is no world without each other, actually. So the quick thing I'm going to say is, what I'm getting at is what was missing is the main nucleus of what it is that is the tree. And I kept thinking and I kept pondering upon it, and then I figured out one thing that made sense. And that had to be the shell of the tree, the exterior. So the bark, for example. Okay, so the bark is the protector of the thing, the self, the being. Okay. You could look at it from the leaf, maybe, from the leaf. I thought of that before, but it really came down to understanding this whole exterior-interior thing. So, ahava, believe it or not, love, or feeling, sensation, is the base of an entirely of our being. Without sensation and without feeling, okay, we do not have being. We do not have self. We do not have identity within the confines of the world. From my Kabbalist perspective, okay, God is non-existent. Okay, but here's the weird thing. Okay, so Kabbalah, which is highly spiritual, but does not include God, is where I'm going with Kabbalah. Because you see, God is this understanding that one person created, or two people, or many created all other beings, okay, or predated us, the majority, let's just say, okay, and even if it was some weird inverted version of this where one came last, I don't know. Even then, these whole concepts of who came first and last are within the confines of time, relative to a 24-hour clock on Earth, for example. Okay, so that whole understanding is within the confines of that. Okay, now if that's true and time does exist as it does, which I'm sure it does, then we know that there is a beginning. Now, from my perspective, there is no end. Okay, so once we come into being, because we are existence, each of us is a part of existence. There is no existence without one of us. Okay, without all of us, I mean. One of us missing from that is still a part of that existence, and that existence is onto self a certain way, so that that one being can also, in a way, be the existence, meaning that person cannot not exist. Okay, there's not one of us that cannot not exist. The entire conception of death and life, which I want to get into really quickly, is Hayim, which means life, and Mavet, which means death. Okay, now death is basically not real. It's fake. There's nothing understandable about it that is real. And the way to prove that is very simple. When you put in logic a certain formula that I exist, you know I exist. Okay? You first put it I exist, then you put it exist I. That semantics, okay, that ordering of the words in a sentence lays out the understanding of whether you exist or not a certain way and how you exist. So I exist and exist I, one is subjective and the other is objective. Okay, so when we say I exist I am objectifying myself, objectifying. Now, when I say I exist, I'm subjectifying. Now, the reasoning behind this is that When we know I exist, okay, you can say that right now to yourself, I exist. The fact that you can sense that, remember, sensation is the most important part. The fact that you can sense that means you do exist. Okay? When you say, I will no longer exist, the nature of that statement is that death will be real. If death is real, then it makes making a statement which is possible to be made impossible. Okay? So it's not possible for you to not exist and then also make a statement of it from a position where you do exist. That's not logically possible. So that's just a quick way of looking at it from my Kabbalistic understanding, my mysticism of reality. I would call my Kabbalah Chaim Kabbalah, which means life Kabbalah. Okay, not Mavet. Mavet is really the enemy, so to speak. Mavet is this fake reality that we live in, each of us as an individual on Earth. I personally don't prescribe to that reality ever in my life. I've been down this descension to Sheol, which is hell, and I'm ascending. Okay, so my understanding of reality is not perfect yet. That I will say. But I do have something to offer. I have a level of understanding. And that level of understanding relates to sensation. So what I share with you today and what you hear and understand, what you take from this is my way of impacting the world. That's clear. That's what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, you will impact the world because you will be able to take this and go further with it. So let me get into the theory now. So this is what it looks like. Try to bring it nice and close. So that's the theory. Okay, so on what would be this side, you see colors. Okay, here is the tree of life and the titles, including Ein, Hava, as I said. And then here is actually what this is composed of. Now the reason why these three things are here, okay, one, color is indicated to me how many there ought to be, including number and clock or time. See, there's 0 to 23 hours. You can actually make a clock 0 to 23. And every 60 seconds is really that decimal, but this is getting too complicated. I don't want to complicate things. So I'm going to go through the tree of life first and explain each Sephrio. First, I'll let you know this won't be a very long video, so I'm going to try to summarize everything and keep it short. So, Ava, Zera, Belial, Thamiel, Satiriel, Ogiel, Golachab, Gashchala, Tagirom, Samiel, Arab Zara, Kamiel, Lilith, Henoth, Malkut, Yesod, Hod, Netzach, Tiferet, Gevurah, Binah, Choma, Keter, Da'at, and Ein. Those are the 25 Sephrio. Those 25 Sephrio, okay, when you activate these Sephiros, you literally bring into your essence, into your being, what you are as a self. What is your true identity? Which is the most important, okay? You begin to sense things a certain way. I want to say precognition, maybe even some psychic phenomena, some form of telepathy. I wouldn't say direct communication with others, but some form of that. You know, these abilities come out in you: empathy, empathic abilities, ability to feel. In fact, empathic abilities is my strongest suit. So I'm going to start with the bottom, the 23rd, and that's that's Ein. Okay, Ein Sof Ur. I take out Sof Ur. The reasoning behind that is that Ur is light. Okay, and Sof means somethingness kind of thing, like what has and what has not is the difference between Sof and the antisynthesis of that, which is, I'm not sure, but the point I'm getting at is basically what that means is God, full, not void, light. Okay, But the problem is that we don't come out of something which is having something, okay? Because we would be in an endless period of time going through death and cycles of it, okay? And we know that not to be true, and there's reasons behind that, and I've only briefly brushed on the logic part of it. But so Ain is basically this nothingness, this void that we come out of. This void in time is limitless, unlimited. It does not have a fixed point, and it's just what it is. It's the beginning. Now, in that beginning is what it became, which is the opposite. Okay, so everything built itself a certain way, and then oppositioned. So you see, this period beforehand isn't quite death, but it's just void. Now, what we do when we enter Sheol is we opposition that where we exist now. Okay, so it goes from built itself in void and then oppositioned itself in what became of Ain, which is the beginning, which is void, is organization, which is really the amalgamation of self, not the differentiation of self. It's the highest form of what is not self, what is group, or whatever, however you want to call it. So Ain, which began as self, became the opposite. Now we enter Sheol, we opposition not that, but what is the opposite. So that's why when you see in the Bible or Torah the two trees or the three trees, however you want to look at it, really what you're talking about is one tree, okay, with its crown, with its roots, its seed, and its exterior, which is what is visible to us, what is seen, okay, which is the last step, but also at the same time the first step. So it's complicated. But what I'm trying to get at is when we enter Sheol, we opposition that. So we're trying to regress. Regression is the nature of evil. Progression is the nature of good. And so progression, or to be progressive, really, like in political scale terms, is not the same. But to be progressive means we are evolving. We are continually growing, and there are levels to our existence. There are those that are masters of it, okay? And these are people who are shaping our world. And when I mean world, I really mean existence. I mean the universe. I don't mean Earth. Earth is evolving based off of financial gain or political gain or these power struggle things that are regressive, because these were the things that shaped us, okay? We both earned the way we are, and we are born the way we are. First we earned it, and then we were born. So as I mentioned, what happened is from Ain to Hava, and then Ahava to Ain. Okay? And in that period of time where nature built up what it would mean to exist as a being, because nature did it, not God, nature. Nature actually points to something that exists. God is this invisible creature that's supposed to be a being who is among us as a being or not, but then is responsible for us. So that the definition of what God is can be played around with and maybe slightly fit into this high-end Kabbalah, but it's not worth it, because what God intends to be in so many ways, how it's invoked in people, it's not worth even including in my theory, my school of thought. Okay, so what you have is Ain, an organization, which is the 23rd. Then you have Da'at and logic, Kether, clock, Choma, number, Bina, temperature, Gevura, weight, Teferet, atomic or atoms, Netzach, chemicals, Hod, vitamins, Yesod, minerals, Malkuth, metals, Hemoth, energy, Lilith, magnetic, Gamiel, movement, Arab, Zarak, vibration, Samiel, speed, Hagidon, size, Gashkla, taste, Golab, smell, Agiel, touch, Satiriel, sound, Tamiel, shape, Reliel, color, Zara, knowing, and Ahava, sensation. So I'll go through it without going back and forth there. So you have from the void perspective, or from the progression perspective, I won't begin now with organization. I'll begin where we begin as per our creation, as we were born. So we have sensation, knowing, color, shape, sound, touch, smell, taste, size, speed, vibration, movement, magnetic, energy, metals, minerals, vitamins, chemicals, atomic weight, temperature, number, clock, logic, and organization. So yeah, so let me hammer this home. The point of this is to make clear that the tree actually does something. It is practical that way. It is composed of the parts of our being that make us. These are composed of sensations. Each of these are sensations. Okay, so if you were to rename this theory, it would be sensation theory. If you were to rename or redefine Kabbalah, it would be what are sensations that make us a being. That is the difference between normal Kabbalah and Chaim Kabbalah. I'm not saying mine is better, I'm saying mine is abnormal, which is really maybe the opposite. Okay, so I'm just saying that to make a joke, but the point I'm getting at is this theory actually puts into action what it is that is the tree of life, not unlike these titles. So, but you see, I don't get rid of those titles or names of Sephiros, parts of the tree. I keep them because you see, ritualization, if you'd like, or magic, or mysticism, or temple work, with the exception of church, let's say, maybe even included, is invoking the parts of our being, especially in the state that we're in. I mean, if you're coming to this video with the understanding that you are going to learn about regular Kabbalah, and you're still watching this, which is great, then you're learning something completely different about Kabbalah, okay, a different understanding. But what I'm getting at is that the fact that I still keep these because I'm aware that we need to invoke these parts of our being to reactivate what we are. Okay, you could call this ascension, resurrection, reactivation, rebirth, call it whatever you want. But the point is, we must get better. We must improve as a species, as a people. This is really a form of spiritual warfare, if you'd like, because what's happening is my work actually puts into action the very practical understanding of reality, which is what are we composed of? Unlike what we have today, which is when you go watch a theory on Kabbalah, you will see they'll just basically sit there and say, well, Lilith is Satan or something, and they'll say Da'at is Elohim, and they're opposites, and they're basically just splitting the knowledge apart, making one good and evil. And really, what is reality? Reality is a balance of the pure and the impure. And that doesn't mean that we necessarily look at toxic things as being impure. Impure can really mean certain things, like coffee. Okay, coffee has caffeine, gives you a high. It's an external substance which takes you from your normal homeostasis of the body and changes it. It's an altering substance. Okay, that is an impurity. Now, purity might be seen as what is sobriety, which is what does the body just need to survive. So purity and impurity isn't quite the definition that people think it is. It's really a question of necessity and needs and wants. Impurity is wants and needs are pure. And it's a balance of those needs and wants that bring us to a proper homeostasis, a proper balance in the body. Now, if I look at color, for example, I've included the colors. I won't get too much into it, but basically there are 25 colors, with the exception of what is invisible or hue, which then shapes the color, changes the color, and forms it into a different shade of the color. Okay. There's anything between clear, gray, black, white, brown, these typical colors But then there are also colors like turquoise and lava and peach, okay, that are included. It takes expanding your understanding of reality back to what is reality. So that basically just means, you will wake up with time and realize what is around you. And in that process is understanding that what you need to do is really, focus on the certain things. And if you look at color, you will focus on certain colors and realize, okay, well, this doesn't quite look like what would be red, okay, or whatever that looks like doesn't look like that other thing. So there's difference among the spectrum of the hues of color. That's basically it. Thank you for watching.